Many North Americans are exploring real estate opportunities beyond high price markets across their respective countries. Baja Mexico has quickly become a top destination for investment, lifestyle, and second homes. In this series of videos, I'm joined by my trusted colleagues in Baja to give you a clear, professional overview of what buyers need to know before purchasing in Mexico. I'm your host, Mark Dalton, and this is Keeping It Real Estate, Baja Edition.
Ooh, feel the vibration.
Mark, thanks for joining us tonight. How are you doing down there?
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Everything is as usual and warm and sunny.
So let's get down to it and talk about why North Americans are looking to buy in Baja. What trends are you seeing with Canadian buyers and North American buyers right now?
I would say that the biggest trend I'm seeing is towards turnkey homes, priced between 600,000 and 900,000. That seems to be the bread and butter of my business at the moment. Yeah, it's definitely the most active category of real estate right now.
So why do you think Baja is becoming so attractive compared to traditional markets like Southern California and the West Coast of Canada?
I think there's two reasons. One, the affordability, and two, the proximity to the West Coast of USA and Canada. It's such an easy trip to get down here, and your money just goes so much further, comparably speaking.
Very true, very true. Are most buyers, do you consider retirees, investors, or remote professionals?
I would say retirees and vacation homes seem to be the two most popular demographic of buyers right now.
And how would you say the overall lifestyle compares to the West Coast of Canada and US?
I think you would be hard pressed to find anywhere in the world that has better weather than what we have here in Todos Santos and Pescadero. You're looking at, average temperatures of in the 80 degrees Fahrenheit for almost the entire year, with the exception of August, September, and October, which are the hottest 3 months of the year. And during that time period, you can see temperatures moving up into the 90s Fahrenheit, but still not as hot as many locations on the west coast of California, for example.
Well, which is not really unheard of when you look at some of the temperatures that places like Texas and Arizona are hitting these days in the summer. I mean, even in the spring, they're reaching up 100 degrees plus. Is that not correct?
Oh, 100%. I mean, even my hometown in California typically sees highs well above 100 degrees, and in some cases it'll reach 110. So compared to where I come from in California, it actually stays a little bit cooler here during the hottest months.
Which is nice. And for you Canadians, I'm going to say the average temperature in Baja through the winter is probably about 30 degrees Celsius, 28 to 30, with a nice
Yeah, I
ocean
think that
breeze.
sounds right. Yep.
Yeah. So what would you say buyers are prioritizing: lifestyle, affordability, or investment potential? In general, of course.
I would say lifestyle for sure. I mean, I tell a lot of my clients that it's your lifestyle that you're investing in. It's the lifestyle, it's the memories that you're going to create with your family, uh, just being able to have access to such beautiful beaches that are, very sparsely populated, especially compared to what you would find in Southern California. I think that is the main driver down here is the lifestyle.
Well, I can't argue that point at all because my family and I have had some incredible experiences down there that we will remember for our lifetimes for sure. So how do you think the property, and this might be a little tough for you to answer, and I can certainly chime in, but property prices in Baja compared to, say, the west coast of Canada, and I'll combine that with what budget should a Canadian buyer realistically expect And so right now, oceanfront lots where I live are starting at around 1.5 million Canadian, which if you can find one, that's a really great deal. Ocean View are probably in that average around, let's say 430,000 US, so 550 to 600,000 Canadian. And that's just for a typical building lot. So what would you say, what budget then would somebody expect if they were, say, to purchase some raw land and build a home down there of their dreams?
Well, it's kind of interesting that you threw out the 1.5, that for oceanfront raw land. That would be about the peak of where you would see the most desirable oceanfront lots that exist here selling. Um, Roughly 500 to 1.5 million is what we're seeing oceanfront dirt going for at this point in time. And obviously, that's going to depend a lot upon the services that are available, what beach it's on, if it's elevated, what the topography looks like. So the price can fluctuate. Like I'm saying, 500 to 1.5 is pretty much your price point for oceanfront lots in this market.
So would you say ocean view and luxury properties are still attainable at some lower price points down there? Where would you say the entry level is starting these days?
So if you're looking for a turnkey home with ocean views, there are opportunities starting around 550,000 US dollars, which is obviously pretty damn affordable compared to what you would pay in Southern California, for example. Something like that just no longer exists in Southern California. And I think there are a lot of people who have recognized that the money down here just goes so much further in terms of getting an ocean view, a home that you can actually not only see the ocean, but walk to the ocean in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes. That's attainable starting at around 550,000 USD.
Okay. And what additional costs, taxes, fees, maintenance should a buyer plan for if they're going to purchase a property down there?
So one thing that buyers definitely need to be aware of is that the closing costs in this market are a lot higher than what you would see in the USA or Canada. For example, you're typically looking at between 6 to 8% of the purchase price. However, that is made up for relatively quickly through the very low cost of annual ownership. If you were to invest in, say, a $1 million to $1.3 million home in this area, you would spend less than $1,000 annually on property taxes. Foreigners own through a bank trust here, which is another annual expense. That's about 500 US dollars annually. So, although the closing costs are a little bit steep, it is definitely made up for through the low cost of annual ownership.
I would be over the moon if I only had to pay $1,000 a year in property taxes. Right now, let's talk about because you mentioned the trust fees. So, can US and Canadian citizens legally own property in the Baja?
Uh, Not outright. So, due to the amendment of 1917, foreign ownership is prohibited within 100 kilometers of the border and 50 kilometers of the coast. So the workaround for that is what's called a fideicomiso, which is a bank trust. So the bank actually holds the property in their name, and through the trust agreement with the bank, you control all aspects of the property. You own all beneficial rights to the property. The bank cannot do absolutely anything with the property without your explicit written instruction. And when I say written instruction, I mean you will have to be navigating the bureaucracy through the correct formats. It's not as though you can send them an email and instruct them to do something with your property on your behalf. So really, it's a great deal for the bank. They collect $500 a year to hold the property for you in this trust agreement. And again, they cannot do anything with the property whatsoever without you instructing them to do so.
Excellent. So, how does the purchase process differ then from a typical transaction in the US or Canada? I mean, in the Canada, we have a condition period. In the States, I know they refer to it as escrow. So, can you take us through that? And how long would a typical closing timeline take?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to walk you through a typical purchase process down here. It's very similar to what you would experience in the US. I would say the main difference is that 99% of these transactions are done in cash. So uh, you make an offer. If your offer is accepted, 10% is the customary earnest money, which typically goes into an escrow account within 5 days of an accepted offer. And then on my offers, I typically allow a 21-day due diligence period, during which time the buyer has the right to walk away for any reason. If you're purchasing a home, obviously you're going to perform a home inspection, a survey to confirm the boundaries, and a title report is something that I consider mandatory just to make sure that there are no discrepancies or irregularities in the history of the chain of title. Once your contingencies are removed, you're looking to close in roughly 45 to 60 days after that, which I understand is a little bit longer than what you would typically see in the USA or Canada. The reason that the closings take a little bit longer down here for foreigners are just due to the fideicomiso and establishing the bank trust. It actually happens very much in line with what you would see in the USA or Canada for Mexican nationals. However, for foreigners purchasing in this market, that's you're looking at 45 to 60 days after removal of contingencies before a closing would occur.
Okay. And regarding your 21-day contingency, you mentioned that the buyer would put some money into the escrow account. And if for some reason a buyer did, perform due diligence, decided against purchasing that property, what happens to that deposit in escrow? Is it refunded forthwith?
Yes, that's correct. The deposit is 100% refundable minus the 650 US dollar escrow fee, which the escrow company will collect upon making that first deposit.
That's pretty fair, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. So what professionals then would you recommend that your buyers work with? So who would be on their team then in through this process, aside from you, of course?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have been working with Loyalty Consulting out of Cabo San Lucas. That's owned by an attorney named Eduardo Garibay. I've been working with him for about 10 years, and he will be coordinating the transaction between buyer, seller, fiduciary bank. In Mexico, the notary plays a major role in all of these transactions. In Mexico, a notary is an officer of the court, and they formalize all real estate transactions. Also, obviously, a home inspector. I've been working with Sarah Gorisavi with Lex Advisors out of Cabo San Lucas for a little over 10 years on all of my title reports. And then I typically work with a local engineer for survey purposes.
Excellent, man. That clarity alone helps remove a lot of uncertainty for the buyers, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Eduardo and his team at Loyalty Consulting do an absolutely amazing job of just eliminating and alleviating any questions or concerns that buyers may have throughout the process. Obviously, I'm involved as well, but having a professional attorney who specializes in strictly real estate transactions for foreigners adds a lot of value to the equation.
That's incredible. What areas would you consider that are the most popular with the Canadian and US buyers right now?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, I love Todos Santos and Pescadero. I've been in the area full time for a little over 18 years. But, everybody is attracted to different things. I like to surf, which is one of the reasons why I like this particular area.
Are there any emerging neighborhoods that are worth watching in your immediate area right now? Is there anything that you're really excited about?
The neighborhood I live in has experienced some pretty incredible growth. I think you've witnessed that firsthand. You've obviously been to my home here and seen there's been some really beautiful homes constructed in the Gavilon neighborhood of Pescadero over the last 5 years in particular. Just some really, architecturally speaking, masterpieces. Some really gorgeous stuff has gone up here.
I can certainly attest to that. It's so refreshing not to have cookie cutter homes like so many of the suburban neighborhoods in the Canada and US markets. So, where would you say you're seeing the strongest long-term growth? And would you say the immediate Gavilon Pescadero area?
You know what? You can't discount the Otro Lado of Todos Santos because that area has continued to grow over the last 10 years. I mean, I remember going out there 10 years ago and there were just a few scattered homes, and man, now it's starting to look more and more like a city out there. So, um, Pescadero and Todos Santos have both experienced rapid growth, not only in the Gavilon neighborhood or the Otro Lado of Todos Santos. It's pretty well distributed throughout both towns.
That's incredible. So, okay, well, here's the real test question then. If a buyer wanted walkability, ocean views, and strong resale potential, where would you guide them first?
To my neighborhood, to Gavilon, for sure. Yeah, I think I sold somewhere close to 100 lots in this neighborhood starting about 11 years ago. And it was really interesting at that point in time because, everybody knows Cerritos. That's the main attraction to Pescadero. And back in those years, I would get a lot of clients that would pop into my office and they didn't really know much of Pescadero other than Cerritos. They'd been visiting Cerritos for many years. And the first place I would always take them is over to the Gavilon neighborhood just because it's, 5 minutes from Cerritos, but Cerritos is developing in a much more commercial direction, whereas Gavilon is developing in a high-end residential direction. So it's really great to have this high-end residential neighborhood that's also just a 5 minute drive over to the popular surfing beach, which is also where most of the restaurants and amenities are starting to pop up. And then when you're done enjoying your day at the beach or hanging out in some of the new restaurants that the area has, you come back into a really quiet residential neighborhood and you feel like you're totally separated from the commercial aspect going on over at Cerritos.
Well, I hate to say it, but I think hindsight is 2020 because that's exactly what I pictured way back when we purchased our lot in the Pescadero, and that's for sure. What so speaking of that, then, what are the biggest mistakes that a foreign buyer could make down there potentially?
Um, the biggest mistake would be to work with an agent that doesn't have the experience or the right team in place to help provide you with all of the necessary information and guide you through the process correctly. The title reports are something that I tell all of my clients are 100% mandatory. There's a lot of agents out there that are new to the area and have shown up over the last 5 years, obviously motivated uh, by the way that the market has grown. I would say they're profit motivated, whereas a lot of the older agents who have been in the area for more time moved to the area because we love this area and we were willing to, do whatever it took to live here. And there's definitely more people that don't have as much experience coming into the area at this point in time.
And, I think that's exactly why the cross-border collaboration is so valuable for our clients because I can certainly rely on someone like yourself down there to guide buyers and make the right choices. That's for sure. So I appreciate that. And have you had many transactions that where someone tried to shortcut and it cost them dearly?
What I have had are transactions where things have come to light through performing a title report, which may cast some doubt on that particular title. There's some requirements of Mexican agrarian law that it's very important to ensure were fulfilled upon the first transference. I think you're well aware that all of the properties basically throughout Mexico, almost all of them originate from an ejido.
Correct.
And the ejido are the original residents of a particular zone of Mexico.
Right.
And there are some strict requirements of agrarian law that an ejido member must go through when they sell their property for the first time. And it's very important to just ensure that all of those procedures were correctly performed upon first conveyance.
Okay. Yeah. So the indigenous lands for sure. Uh, so right now, who would you say is the ideal buyer coming down into your area?
You know what? I get such a wide spectrum of clients. Historically, this market in Pescadero has always resonated with a little bit of a younger demographic than what you would get in Todos Santos. Historically, it was always the retirees were in Todos Santos and the surfers, the younger crowd, the people that place a lot of value upon outdoor living were in Pescadero, but it's shifted dramatically over the last 5 years in particular, especially with the emergence of so many new amenities over at Cerritos. We are starting to get a lot of retirees coming into the Pescadero market that historically we would have seen gravitating more towards Todos Santos. So as the area has grown, the demographic of the two towns has changed a little bit. And I would say at this point in time, maybe you still see a little bit more of the retiree crowd gravitating towards Todos Santos, but it's not as it was before where there was this dramatic difference between the two towns. We're certainly seeing a lot of retirees in Pescadero these days.
Right, because there's certainly a lot more infrastructure built into the Pescadero neighborhoods now, is there not?
Oh man, yeah. As you're well aware, there was no electricity in Cerritos up until 2015. I remember the day that they brought the electric lines down the main road at Cerritos, and since then the lines have just continued to expand almost weekly. It's not only the electric lines, but the just new construction. It's not uncommon for me to go into an area of Pescadero that I have not been in for 2 weeks, only to realize that not only is the electricity there now, there's two new homes that already have walls up and they're putting a roof on them. It's happening very fast here at this point.
It's incredible. Well, Mark, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate that. What an incredible place. I can't say enough about it, but to have trusted professionals like you on the ground to ensure our client experience offers a seamless and informed purchase process from start to finish. It's just incredible. So if anybody's interested, you can reach out for a confidential consultation. I'm going to leave Mark's contact and my contact. You can get in touch with us through our websites, direct messaging on social media, email, WhatsApp. Mark, thanks again. I appreciate your time, and I can't wait to come back down to see you very soon.
No, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on. I look forward to seeing you down here again in person and look forward to connecting with you in the future to do it again.
Excellent. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.